Hi, my name's Tony Sharples and welcome back to Old Dog New Tricks. One of the things I wanted to talk about this week was potentially what could be one of the biggest mistakes you can make in building your own business, and particularly an online business. And it's something that has been really apparent in the past couple of weeks. So I thought I might use like a real life example of something that I'm putting together now where this has come into play. And I think the biggest mistake that you can potentially make in developing a project is not finding the time to go out and talk to customers and users about what they're looking for in something like the product that you're developing, whether that's an online store or an app or a learning resource, or any sort of business. It's actually getting out there in front of people and saying, here's what I'm proposing to do, and I want to get your feedback on it so that I can hone and shape how it works. Versus a lot of people that I think that get hung up on the idea of keeping everything in because they don't want people to find out about what they're doing and replicate it or copy it or anything like that, or just people who just get caught up in the development process and treat it as a very internal process. And from my perspective, for the last few weeks, I've been going through the starting process of developing an online learning course on digital marketing. And it's been an interesting case in point because my starting point was to go out there and do an awful lot of research on what's out there in the marketplace already. So I spent a lot of time looking at online courses. I had a big look at sites like Udemy to see what was there. And interestingly, what came out of that research is that there are a lot of courses out there on digital marketing that were very deep. I mean, a lot of them were very specific, but they were very deep, and they seemed to push quantity more than anything. Like, here's this course, it's got 30 lectures, it's, 40 hours of learning, it's this, it's that, it goes over so many weeks and it covers so many topics sort of thing. So my initial feeling from looking at the market on the basis of desktop research was that perhaps on the basis of the bulk of what was out there, that what people were looking for was depth and things like that. So I originally started down that path, and then I went through a second stage where I started to talk to people about what they were looking for. And I think what I pulled out of that is that people really want to know more about digital marketing, but I think they appreciate that they're never going to be masters of everything. I think it's impossible for someone to be an absolute master of search and an absolute master of Facebook and an absolute master of drop shipping and Shopify and e-commerce and logistics and things like that. So people were looking for stuff where it was covering the topics but not covering them to a ridiculous depth. So I honed my idea down then from developing something that was quite immersive to then looking at a 12-week format where I covered everything in quite a bit of detail, quite a few videos in each section of the course, and covering a lot of stuff. Now, in the last week or so, I've actually been out in front of a lot of people from a lot of diverse backgrounds, from big corporates to small business to medium-sized companies like franchise operations and things like that. And a third tier of interesting feedback that came back is that, yes, there is a need for knowledge on digital marketing out there across all of these levels. But the thing that was really coming into play of when I got down to the nitty gritty of, okay, this is the curriculum that I've developed and this is how it flows over 12 weeks and all of that sort of stuff, is that I generally found that people were looking at it going, look, yes, that's fantastic, but I don't know where I'm going to find the time to fit that in. And this was a repeated thing across talking to many people. So what I found is that really I've sort of shifted from a position where the need for people is digital marketing expertise, which is almost a given, but it's equally balanced by the fact that these people are incredibly time poor. And I think it's an amazing sort of catch-22 in these days, in that we're living in a world where there is an incredible amount of resource on learning on just about any topic that you can ever imagine. But on the counter of that, although you've got that a massive amount of resource available, to go out and look and learn about things in the marketplace, we're more time poor than ever before. So we actually don't have the time to do it. So from my perspective, where I've ended up is I've now actually crunched it down to a 6-week course, which is very broad in its scope. And I'm very, very focused on addressing the issue of people who are very time poor in terms of their ability to do a course. I mean, I think it's a given that people want the expertise. And so what I'm very much more focused on now is the user experience and how the course I develop sort of meshes with the time that they've got available to do it. So I'm focusing very much on things like keeping videos short and concise. I'm also going to look at making sure that when I do the videos, that any of the videos that I develop as content can also work as podcasts, so that people have the ability to sit down on their laptop if they've got some time and watch a video on a topic, but also if they want to, they can just play it in their car, they can play it at the gym, they can play it while they're going for a walk or shopping or anything like that. So it's very focused now on addressing that issue of the fact that most of the people that would potentially want to do the course, that lack of time to do things like this is a big issue for them. So I think that's really a learning for people who are going down the path of either developing themselves as an online brand, maybe taking something and developing an online e-tailing type of experience, taking their own existing business and expanding the way that they market that business to cover more digital marketing, is to really get out there in front of customers and say, look, this is what I'm planning to do. What do you think about that? And get feedback from as wide a variety as people as you possibly can. Because I think, once again, in terms of that learning curve, what you don't want to do is go through this massive learning curve and then suddenly find at the end of that learning curve that you got to step back to here because something's fundamentally changed in what you're doing. And that's something that I must admit I've seen repeated over the years when I've been working on things like app development, site development and stuff like that. I think people tend not to allow early enough in the planning stages to actually get out there and gauge feedback, but it's also really important to gauge feedback from a really diverse cross-section of the people that you're ultimately going to be talking to with what you're doing. So that's my thoughts on this, and I hope that helps and gives you some steerage for anything that you may be developing for online, and I'll see you next time.